All right, everybody. So I promised you that we would get into After Effects and do that visual effects shot. So I've started a new project. Click on New Composition and let's see. Well, this footage that I used is 4K footage, so I could just start with 4K footage, or I could go with 1080p. I'm going to choose 1080p because that's most likely going to work easier on your computer. Let me see which version. Let's go HDTV 1080p. Click OK. So I'm going to now import my video. No, let me not do multiple files yet. Let's just go import file, and let's see. Oh, no, where did I put that footage? Okay, I think it's here in After Effects footage. So let's see now. So I'm going to add the image that I created. Let's drop that down. And as I said, it's 4K footage, so we're gonna have to hold shift and hold these handles and just bring it in. If your computer can handle 4K, then feel free. But I'm just doing this at 1080p because it will work better for you. All right, that's not too bad. All right, next file. So I need a video file. Where is the original video? So I'm looking for that original video. All right, this is that. So I'm going to drop this down as well and resize it. You can put it on top so we can see if it matches up. No, it's coming good. Should be fine. What else do I need? Oh, I need the car. We can drop that in. Size this down as well. Yeah, good. And it's already lining up in position. Let's just scrub through. All right, that's good. And well, we could add the tree. I didn't add the tree in the previous video, but we could add it here. And the reason why we're separating the car from everything else is because we want to be able to match the color with the car. If you notice, this car is a little bit different color from the rest of the surroundings. And because it's a different saturation, it's not going to sell it as well, right? Even if you look at the picture here, it's still not sold as well. It feels a little bit out of place, but we're gonna fix that. Let's bring that back down. All right, let me just come in here. I want to just pull this in right on the line. All right, great. So everybody is lined up. Cool. All right, so if you don't know yet, basically what we're going to do is we are going to create some kind of mask around our main guy. So I have the rusted car on top, and I have our video footage in the middle, right, as you can see me here, and we have the house underneath, right? So I want to composite me into that, but we didn't use a green screen. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to be learning about a little thing called a rotobrush. Right now, the rotobrush makes rotoscoping a lot easier. Otherwise, formally, if we wanted to, if we wanted to do this, what we would have to do is take the pen tool and go around our subject, and we would go around our subject much closer to the outline of the subject. I'm doing a very ugly one here just to demonstrate. Right, we'd have to go around our subject and basically animate this to the subject. That would take long, but you can already see that, now that I've masked this out, you see what's happening here, right? You see that the background is coming into play. No, I'm going to see if I can leave the mask here. I've never tried it like this before, but I'm going to see if I can leave the mask here. Now, one of the things is that in the previous video, I kind of cut it where I'm here. And that was done to just make life easier, because when it gets to the point, and let me turn the mask off by expanding the video, clicking on mask, and changing it from add to none. Right, so the mask is no longer appearing on screen. Roto brushing from here can be a little bit hell because my shape doesn't maintain itself, right? And then trying to figure out when I come into the edge of the screen and trying to rotoscope, that can be a lot of energy, right? So I'm gonna start the video from around here. This is not to say it can't work. It's just that, it's time consuming. So I'm going to just bring the video up to here. So we're starting at this point, right? So let us activate the rotor brush. So if we go up top here, right, into the little properties menus here, or menu, you will see this brush and it says brush tool. That's not what we're going to use, right? Scroll over, you see a brush with a little man. This is the rotor brush tool. So we're going to click on that. Make sure you clicked on the video layer, and then you want to double click on your subject. So I'm going to just draw a rough outline. Does not have to be exact, to be honest with you. Draw a rotor brush and refine edge. Yeah, just drew the rotor brush. So what's the problem? What on earth is happening here? This is not making sense. Double click. Draw a rotor brush and refine edge sketches at full resolution. Yeah. After Effects. Come on. You're killing me here. You're killing me here. Fine. Let's do this at full resolution. That's the thing that I can't deal with After Effects, because then it's going to just bog down the machine, but hey, whatever. All right, so we're now set to full resolution. So let me double click again. So now we're not getting an error. So this should work fine right now. All right, so bam. Rotor brush, why are you behaving this way? You need to stop it. Come on. I'm going to just go all around the legs because that piece should be fine. I am not understanding. You should see an outline. That's the thing that's missing for me. You should see an outline around our subject, right? But I'm not seeing that outline, so that is really stressing me out right now. Yeah, I'm bringing this whole mask in, but you know, this is not going to help us much. In fact, let's go back to none. You know what, I'm going to get rid of this mask just in case it's causing confusion. All right, so I'm on the video, rotobrush tool, double click. Gonna draw around you. Let me do this rough first and see. This is not working. Why are you not working? You should see an outline around your subject. And I'm not seeing that outline, so something is wrong. I don't know what the problem is, because if we go into effects, we see that rotobrush and refine edges here. And yeah, let's see, everything is on. I don't get it. All right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to close the program and reopen it. All right, roll the brush. And let's see if this works. Let's try this again. All right, so our rotobrush is not working. This is very, very strange. This is really strange. Oh boy, this is what I can't deal with After Effects. I just cannot deal with this crap. After Effects. What is wrong with you? All right, I'm going to delete the rotobrush. And we're going to double click on you again. All right, now we are in business. This is what you should be seeing, right? So let us come here now. So you want to get in as close as your screen can possibly allow, because you know, the more detailed you are, the better. So I'm going to just use my mouse and just drag over the areas that I want the rotobrush to outline. You know, try to stay within. Sometimes you can even just do it like this. You don't even have to be exact with the edges. went a little outside, but we can fix that. So what you see here now, you see an outline, but if you look closely, you'll see that the outline has come outside of where I want. So what I have to do is I have to hold down, I think it's Alt, and just swipe at what I don't want. So let's do that again. Right, so you can see it starts deleting some of the unwanted space. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do the same up here. I'm going to do the same here. And you just basically keep doing that until you get, get it as refined as you can. Sometimes it's not going to work out. Like you see here, it's chopping a little bit of my head off. And you see here, it's chopping a little bit of the ear. I can just use a regular mouse, no Alt, and try to get it back in. All right. Take off just a little bit. You don't have to be exact. You can, because you can feather this. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Undo. Get the face back in there. So anytime you see the red stroke come up, I'm deleting. Anytime you see the green stroke come up, I'm adding. So like right here, I'm holding Alt and deleting some of this. Holding Alt again and deleting some of this. All right, until I get a fairly close approximation. No, you know what? Let me not. The reason I'm not going to include the gap is because the arms are going to be swinging in and out, and that in and of itself is going to cause a problem. That's why I didn't even bother with the gap here, because I didn't put any effects below the legs on purpose, because I didn't want to give myself too much work, because when those legs cross over, it changes the profile of this thing, right? So how do I rotobrush through the rest of this? Simply put, I press spacebar and let it play through, and let the computer try to figure out what's supposed to happen. So I'm here on our timeline, and I'm pressing the spacebar, and I'm just letting it compute. And it will do the best that it can up to a point. Whenever the shape changes too much, like you can see it starting to divert, and we're going to go in and fix that. But you see it starting to divert, you see it including a piece of the window there, and that's stuff that we're going to have to address. So as you can see, it didn't go all the way through, right? Because it just went up to the point that it could figure out, and then it stopped. No, yeah, it's disappointing that it didn't go through, but that's because there's not enough contrast between myself and the background. That's fine. If we had something more contrast here, if we did this green screen, we wouldn't have this problem. But then green screen comes with its own problems. You have to light it properly, and then how would you have to match my lighting with outdoors, so yeah, that in and of itself is also complicated. So let's get rid of this square tile up here. All right, that looks fairly good, but we need to include this leg again. You notice the leg got chopped off. All right, let me backtrack a bit. Yep, so we see some here. So this is the thing where it gets annoying. The fact that you kind of have to go in frame by frame and make some corrections here and there, right? It's okay if this thing steps off just a little, but you don't want it to step off too much, right? Especially up top here where we know we put the crack effects and the the little moss. And just so you can see what it looks like, I'm gone back to the main comp, and now you can see the character, myself here, and everything is blending nicely, except for the fact that I'm missing a leg, right? So let's go back into here, re-add the leg, and we can get rid of this piece. That piece is not necessary. We can get rid of this slightly because I do believe there's a little bit of crack somewhere there. And let's go back. We can see the same things happening here. And this is the annoying thing, you know, you have to just go through little by little and fix this thing. This looks like a piece of, oh no, I thought a piece of my hand got cut off, but it didn't. So that's good. Zoom up in here. Oh, got my head out. So now we have to add back. I see, that's the thing. If you look at how close my ear is to the window, you could almost mistake my ear and ear for the window. And so that is why you see it breaking. There's not enough contrast. Right? So we get a little bit back. And we know that there's going to be broken windows here. So we kind of want to get this as good as we can. I'm hoping this is good enough. And you don't want too much of yourself chopped off. We can take a look and see. All right, it looks good enough. It can work. Can work. There's a little bit missing here. We might actually see that. Let me look and see what down there look like. Oh, actually no, it's pretty clean. And we don't have any effects down here, so we don't have to really worry about this. You know, if you get rid of this, it's really nitpicking. All right, let me back up a little bit. I don't think any effects down there, so we're kind of okay with that. So let me just stop here. And I'm going to press spacebar again, let it play through. All right, we let it play through. Try to get as much rotoscoping out of the way as possible. And see, it's kind of veering off there by the bush. Luckily, we don't have any effects down there, so that's not a big problem. But hey, let's watch and see what it does. All right, so it stops again. That's fine. Because we do want to kind of fix before it goes too far. And this is the thing, if I had left this at 4K, this would take even longer to process. I'm just kind of just going in here and moving along and seeing what this looks like so far. I want to chop this off. Oops, now my arm's chopped off, so let's add the arm back in. Let's chop that off and chop that off. Great. And that's the thing, it's basically using, you know, your previous rotobrush strokes to figure out where the boundaries are of what you're trying to capture. Now you can see my hands starting to get chopped off and my feet starting to get chopped off. All right, so if we don't get a clean rotobrush, I do have a solution for that, which is to duplicate the original video and basically just mask the lower half since there are no effects at that point. Now I want to add back in the feet, you know, because there are shadows down here. So that's one of the things that I don't want to mess up. You know, it's going to look strange when you don't see feet there. And you see the hands gotten chopped off. Feet got chopped off. So, you know, when you're doing a visual effects shot, you have to plan it. You know, you have to plan it. Because I purposely didn't put any effects to the lower half because I know how troublesome legs can be. If this was a more contrasted shot, then definitely, definitely could risk it. But because this is not a very contrasted shot, my shoes are gray, the ground is gray, etc., it's going to cause problems. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to solve that. And the rotor brush is not doing too badly. But we see that it stops here, so I'm going to just doesn't seem to want to play any further. All right, let me go back to the original footage and we see how this looks when we play out. So what we're looking for here is anywhere that the footage starts to break, So for example, when we're here, I feel like the window is doing something. Yeah, see that? The window changes. So it means that there is a little, let's go back here and see. We're going to zoom into that point. Right, this is what we're seeing. So we want to delete that. So Alt, and we refine the edge. So we come back here. What we're seeing now is just a little bit of this artifacts here. I'm going to try and get rid of that. But so far, it's not looking too bad. Now, if you look at our feet, you'll see that our feet are appearing and reappearing. So, something that, again, you can fix with the rotor brush, or you could, duplicate the footage and just mask out the lower half. And that way you kind of combine both. And that's why I didn't color the background in Photoshop, because I wanted it to match up the footage and we color it in After Effects, right? But the good thing about this is that you can see this shows you that, hey, this thing has been modified, right? And as you can see, we had chopped out that tree to make life easier on us. But I'm still going to get the original footage, and I'll tell you why. With this Photoshop footage, everything is dead still, right? The trees are still, the flowers are still, and in real life, there's, a little bit of breeze blowing. So things feel a little, more alive. This seeing things feel dead. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to rotoscope any further, because you've gotten the point by now. What I'm going to do is I am going to grab my footage and I'm going to duplicate it. I believe duplicating is Control D. Yes, Control D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the rotor brushing from one of them. I guess the top one. Let's do that. Right, so now you see we're back to our original footage. If I do that, you see, there we go. So what am I going to do here now? I'm going to take the pen tool, and with the pen tool, I am actually going to do this. So in our, in this one, you see the top part of the palm tree is cut off, right? And the car that was here is removed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pen tool and I'm going to come across here, and I think that's why in my original I did not mess with the windows on this side, but I kind of did it here. So we're going to have to figure out something where that's concerned. Yeah, I just remember that I had done that. I had purposely not modified this window in the original version that I did. But anyway, we're going to just come here to the lower half, and I'm just going to go all the way to here. And let's just come down here. And I want to make sure that I cut around the car. Yeah. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the trees and the flowers in it, right? So there we have it. All right, cool. It's not looking too bad. If we zoom in here, we're not really noticing the difference with the window, but I'm still going to pull this in just a little bit and hope that we don't see anything weird with the tree, right? So bam, let's play this through and see what it looks like. All right, so if you notice, if we zoom in here, you're going to notice the trees are moving slightly, the flowers are moving slightly because of the mask, right? I've masked in the video, and this just helps the scene feel a lot more alive. If I left these things still, you would be looking at it and saying, boy, this looks dead still, and I just don't know why. And you know, that's part of the reason why. Some of it still looks dead still as well because of these. You know, I could also mask this side of the bush in, you know. I wonder if we should try that. Come to think of it, I just remember the car is above the mask, so we can actually come here. The only thing is you just want to make sure that you don't cut over into the rubble too much. You understand? Because you don't want that to happen. So don't cut over into the rubble too much. Oops. Because you want this thing to be as believable as possible. Now, there's not much movement in those leaves, but you know, if there are, it still adds back some life to the scene, right? And we appreciate that. Cool. And I mean, I could, for all intents and purposes, cut my video off before it gets to this point, or I could just continue rotor brushing, you know. But if you notice now, the legs are not disappearing because of the mask that I just added, and so the shadows are there, etc. And it helps to blend the scene, helps to make the scene feel believable, right? So now, what I can start doing now is I'm going to just mess with the car because the car is out of place. So there's several techniques you can use here. One technique, you could use a curve tool. You could use your color correction tool, or you could use your tints tool. Let's click on, we're on default at the moment. I want to be in effects. Yeah, let's go to effects so that I have my effects window here. So I'm going to show you what happens when we add tint. So I'm going to add tint to the car. So you notice it just immediately goes gray, right? So with the tint, what you want to do is it helps you to match things to your scene. If I click on the eyedropper here for the map black tool, basically what I'm telling the eyedropper is, hey, look for something dark in the scene, and you know, match the darks in this image to the darks in that scene as best as possible. I'm saying the same thing with the whites. Take the white, look for something white in the scene, and let's say we use the door, right? You notice it changes the intensity of the gray. And then you go to amount of tint, and we're going to pull that back, right? And if you pull it back all the way to 0, you see it's back to its colorful self. I've now added 27. 27 looks good. Let's go to 38. 38 doesn't look bad. Past 62, it's starting to look too gray for this scene. So I'm going to go back to about 27. 27 for me seems to match because you can see the little rust kind of looks similar hue to the little bricks in the back here. The yellow paint kind of matches the dullness of the yellow paint on the wall. You know, so it feels more like the scene now, right? In my opinion, at least. And I mean, you can play around if you say, you know what, let's take the eyedropper, for example, and click on the light bulb because we think the light bulb represents a better white. You know, it may not, but you know, it's up to you. You can play around with which whites and which blacks you take. And yeah. So now, what I'm also going to do is I could have added in some grass and all of that stuff, but left that out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the car, and I'm going to show you why I'm duplicating the car now. Come on, duplicate the car. So I'm going to take the car at the bottom, and what I am going to do here is I'm actually going to go for the contrast tool, contrast, brightness and contrast, add it to that lower one. And I am also going to do something else, but we'll show you that in a minute. So with the contrast, oh, you know what, so that it stands out better, here's what I'm going to do. So I took the selection tool, and I'm putting this car upside down, and we'll see why in a minute. And I'm putting it underneath here. Let's zoom in a bit, and maybe I'll skew it. All right, so now I'm going to add contrast. All right, not sure why it is. That's not showing, but let's put the contrast above the tint. And let's remove the tint from this. Brightness, turn it all the way back to make it as dark as possible. And we could duplicate that, make it fully black. And then I am going to go to blur, and let us add, we can add pretty much any blur, but let's add a camera lens blur. Should we do a camera lens blur or maybe a box blur? Let's do a fast box blur. I would typically use a camera blur if, you know, I'm trying to show depth of field of something, etc. Like I would probably use a camera blur on the car itself, you know, to kind of represent lens blur a little bit better. But this one, fast box blur, because I'm trying to mimic a shadow, so I'm going to put that at 48 for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the shadow car here, go down to the transform and lower the opacity, right? Because this helps to sell it that it's actually on the ground, right? If it's like this, it looks like it's just tacked there. But bam, we add that little bit of shadow, all right? And we can play around with the position of our shadow. So I'll leave it here for now, right? But it helps to sell the position of the car a little bit better. Maybe the blur is a little bit strong, so we'll tone it back a bit. You know, you just play around till you see what feels fit. I think 40 might be good because it's just generally a very soft, cloudy day, or the sun is behind that, so it's casting soft shadows. So the shadow from the car, you know, needs to be soft. So there you have it. This is how you would rotoscope a scene. And yeah, I want you to give it a try. I do believe I did a better version of this car, but you know, this still works for now. All right, so I hope you found some lessons to take away here. I'm not a VFX expert, but I I do VFX from time to time for clients, so I expect you to take it to another level. You know, like I'm looking back at this. I remember my original one. I had done some more tinting to these so that they look more realistic. Right here, they look a little bit too lush and green, you know. But I say, the more work you put into this, the more realistic it will look. All right. So let me